Good morning, and welcome to day 12 of ScriptGym. And today is all about reaching that halfway point. So we're not quite at the halfway point of ScriptGym yet, but we're getting near the halfway point of your scripts. So the quote for the day is by Theodore Roosevelt. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. So it's sort of, again, just pushing yourself through even when your own mental limitations, or beliefs say you can't, and you push through anyway. And hopefully, through the progress you've made, both in writing and in the physical exercise that you've made so far, is proof positive that yes, you can demand more of yourself than you have in the past. So for our warm-up today, there's a guided meditation. There's a video on the discussion board, as well as a yoga stretch. So please feel free to use that. They're about the same length, about 10 minutes long. So, it's a good way to start your day. Focus on your breath, stretch. You're ready to go. And for your writing exercise, because, as I said, in the second act, not only do you introduce obstacles, but you also introduce the antagonist and the subplot, so on. This is about antagonistic forces. So I want you to write about the antagonistic forces in your own life. What is preventing you from getting what you want, or what has in the past? Is it an internal antagonistic force? Is it an external? Is it both? Fears? How is it manifested? So write for 10 minutes. So take 10 minutes to write about the antagonistic force in your life. It could, like I said, be a person. It could be an external force. It could be internal. And so take 10 minutes, pause the video, and then come back. Welcome back. I hope you took the 10 minutes to write unconsciously. Just set a timer and then went. And now we're on to the lecture, which is pages 41 to 50. This is a continuation of everything that we discussed in the previous class, which is, again, Act 2, obstacles, subplot, allies, friends, as well as antagonists, leading to the midpoint where we're at. So, a subplot. Let's talk about the subplot. One way to avoid the sometimes laggard, often laggard, and repetitive second act is to shift for a time to the antagonist or secondary story, which I mentioned. Shouldn't be independent of your main story, but intertwine with it, interweave it into, and also ideally be an integral part of it. So all the while, the difficulties and obstacles facing the main character should continue to increase. Think always increased obstacles. Things get harder and harder as the act goes along. Now their skills and their knowledge and their awareness becomes greater, so they're able to face the more intense obstacles as they go along, but that's your goal, is to continually increase them. So you're shifting to the main culmination as you approach the second act. We're not there yet, but just know that ultimately the arc of the second act is going to lead to this main culmination, which is your character low point. Your character has declared his belief, their belief, and stands by it, and nothing's going to stop them at this point. That's your point of no return. And then to prove themselves, this is where they do it. The second act, this is where they're tested, and even though the obstacles get very hard. So Act 2 is, as Plato called it, the confrontation. So think of it as it's the part of the Act 2 that's really the heart and meat of your story. We're thrust into the forward motion of the story, and our characters have started to trying and ultimately failing, but again learning to as they move along. So the idea is here to also, as they keep trying and that we're with them, that we form an emotional connection. Ultimately, we're falling in love with your character. We want to, whether they're likable or they're not likable, we're on this journey with them. We're going all the way with them, hopefully, at this point. And again, this is where you explore your B story or C story or a D story, depending, Lord of the Rings had like 5 stories going at once. The second act, think of it as doing your stories, your scripts heavy lifting. It's where that you get answers for the questions that you pose in Act 1. And you get to ask more questions, which pay off in Act 3. So this page 41 to 50 is growth. Where we left the character at the end of the act, the end of Act 1, they had the inciting incident. It took them time to debate it, as they went over denial, anger, despair, and now they accepted it, and now we're moving along. This is the first indication, of where they're at. So, believe me when I say the second act is what separates a successful script from a failed script. Again, the reason why is that there isn't increased obstacles, there aren't subplots, there aren't allies that are helping them along, the antagonist is weak, or even more so that things are repetitive. You've already done that scene and you continually do it because you just sort of scenes follow each other as opposed to, again, increase in intensity. So by page 40, we're climbing that mountain. We're going through the cave. We're about to hit the midpoint. We're not at the midpoint yet, but maybe by 50 you are. Again, depending on where you're at in the script. For a 100-page script, obviously page 50 is somewhere near the midpoint, and I'll talk more about the midpoint on Monday. But this is what you're approaching by doing this. So ultimately, your characters want something. Remember, there's want, need. So if your characters want something, it's your job as the screenwriter to prevent them from getting it as creatively as possible. Character wants something, someone's preventing them from getting it, or something's preventing them. Either they get it or they don't. And sometimes they may get some of it, but ultimately not all of it. And sometimes they get none of it. Sometimes they think they get it, but they don't. So like for a romantic comedy, the goal of a romantic comedy is simply to keep the characters apart for as long as possible. And then ultimately, at the end, ideally bring them together. Now, unless you're 500 Days of Summer, you don't. But for the most part, romantic comedies all of Shakespeare's comedies end up with marriage or relationship or something. So it's how you stop them from getting what they want is how successful it's going to be. Does a villain get in the way? We don't want to watch a movie about happy people. We want to watch a movie about people in crisis. That's why we're watching. And hopefully they get out of the crisis, and tragedies, the crisis gets worse. In comedies, they figure it out. So I'll talk very, very briefly also about sequence 4, which is where we're at in Toy Story. It starts with Woody seeing Buzz. He has to convince them that it was an accident, and he figures he's saved. But again, he's not thinking about Buzz. He's thinking about his own self-preservation. They're left at the gas station. Stakes are raised. Again, you're continually raising the stakes. When I meant intensity, I meant also, and the obstacles get harder, you're raising the stakes as well. Recapitulation, I'm lost, Andy's gone, they're going to move from their house in 2 days, and it's all your fault. Now we know about a ticking clock. If you can have a ticking clock in your second act, wonderful, because that, again, puts more pressure on your character to get something done. So stakes raised, ticking clock, then we're soon introduced to Sid, who's going to become, where the goal is going to change, but also your real antagonist. Woody's not the antagonist, obviously. Woody's the protagonist, but the idea of Sid is that he threatens. Sid's House of Terror threatens everything. The use of location, props, Woody's need versus Woody's want and need, and Buzz's want and need. To go into detail, and I'm not going to go too much into detail here, but please go on the discussion board, and it does so. And it ends at 38 minutes, which is about page 38. Again, this is a 82-page script, whereas, so it's somewhere near, very close to the midpoint. But it goes over, on the discussion board, it goes over dramatic irony, Buzz's want, Buzz's need, and those kind of things. So please do go through that. And then this is the end of our short lecture. but please go into far more detail, like I said, in the discussion board. And then your workout, which is building on what we did on Wednesday. You have 55 jumping jacks, 28 standing crunches. We did 50 the other day. We did 26 standing crunches. And if you remember, it's just your hands behind your neck and your knee to your elbow, not your elbow to your knee. Please don't pull on your neck. Don't strain your neck. Then 28 squats, where you can put your palms down on the floor as you do a deep knee bend each time. 10 burpees with jumps. We did 9 the other day. And then 24 push-ups. If you need to break that up into 2 groups of 12, then feel free to do that. But shoot for 24. And once you're done with that, you're writing pages 41 to 50. And leading yourself to the midpoint. And again, on Monday we will talk far more on the midpoint. Ideally by this morning, Friday morning, you have handed in pages 31 to 40, or at least close to that, and then you'll have until Monday to hand in 41 to 50. You'll actually have till Monday to hand in all of it. You can do 31 to 50 over the weekend if you choose to do that. But I do recommend, if you try and write today Friday and tomorrow Saturday, write 5 and 5 if you can do that, and then take Sunday off. That's my suggestion, is give yourself a break. Take a day off. Have fun. Go to the movies, or go on a hike. Go to the beach. So have fun, and don't think about your script. Try and give yourself a mental break if you can. So that's about it. 41 to 50. We're getting to that midpoint, and you guys are doing amazingly well. I mean, like I said, I'm having the opportunity to read these scripts because we're doing it over 9 weeks, and I'm really impressed with what you're doing so far. So please keep up the good work, and if you want to meet, we can do a Zoom, or if not, then I will see you guys on Monday. So again, try and get the pages in as soon as you can, 31 to 40, and then 41 to 50 by Monday. So, but if you get them 31 to 40 on Monday, that's fine too, but just make sure you get up to 50, or at least close to it, close to your midpoint. Really shoot for to arriving very close to your midpoint midway through your script. So you want to be halfway done by Monday, give or take. So okay, and we will see you then. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday. Bye.